Hello everyone, and welcome to my talk on Drupal Dev Days, or revisiting ChatGPT. Is it coming for your job? Just out of interest, who here has seen my talk before, either in person last year at Drupal Dev Days or online? Okay, a couple of people. Cool. At this point, has anyone here not tried AI in some way? Is there anyone who's never tried OpenAI or anything? Okay, has anyone here installed the OpenAI module itself in Drupal? Cool, we've got a couple of people. Has anyone worked with LangChain at all? A couple of people. Anyone who's worked with Llama Index at all? Cool. So what we're going to do is, my focus, originally it was going to be a talk about, like last time I showed you a whole bunch of demos of things that we try to build with Drupal and AI, and almost, to what degree can we replicate the job of a developer. But since then, there's been quite a lot of exciting movements in the Drupal community, and we started working together on an AI module. And so I'm going to talk a lot about these demos in the context of what you'll be able to download both now and later from the AI module. So yeah, who we are is, yeah, I'm from FreelyGive. I founded a company to focus on native Drupal CRM a while back, and I've got obsessed with AI recently. I'm one of the maintainers alongside a bunch of people. And then Marcus is with me here, who he worked a lot on the AI interpolator module before joining us. And he's been spearheading a lot of the development of the new AI module. So this is the new module. You can find it there, project/AI. Here's the maintainers. And yeah, the AI module aims to serve as the cornerstone of developing a wide range of AI-powered applications. From simple to complex AI systems, it offers the essential tools, as well as the immediate out-of-the-box functionality. What we're hoping to do here is, I think what you'll find when you try and do anything with AI is it's quite easy to build a cool demo that seems magical out of the box, but then you try and use it, and it's not really good enough to actually be useful to anyone. No one would ever use it instead of the alternatives. So what we're hoping to do is provide all the tools you need to build actually quite useful, powerful, advanced, but even if they're simple, AI applications that will work. And those tools will be there for you. And so when you install it, there'll be some simple functionality that you expect, content editors, a chat box, similar things that you get right now. But as you start developing it, you'll find the tools are already there to do what you need when the advanced things start kicking in, which we think they tend to. Yeah. So step number 1, AI search. Last year I showed you RAG, and I went through all the details about how it works, and a lot of people would ask about things being open source. So now what we have is we're going to release an AI search module. I'll talk a bit more. And to demo it, I've created this, Marcus has created this project browser powered by AI. SEO Go, who is Michael, he's spearheading this. And yeah, if you can go to the demo. So what you can see here is, and the link you'll be able to get to yourself if you want to try things out yourself, but if you could just wait until after I finish demoing it so it doesn't crash. But you'll be able to see a little chat bot, and you can ask it a question like, I want to rebuild Reddit in Drupal. And this is going and coming up with a how it would approach it. And then those are all links to projects that exist on this site. And what's quite cool about this one is this is an open source chatbot where everything from the embedding, the LLM, the database, etc., is all open source. It's connecting with a third-party service to get this up and running, but I'm going to show you later that this is something you can all completely self-host. You can put it on your own laptop, your own servers. So if you've got more privacy-conscious clients, this might become very important. But if you click on one of the links there, now this is the OpenAI-powered version of the chatbot, and you can see what the differences are. Now, what I thought was really cool about this is this thing here of my one-time logins in Drupal fail when I use Outlook. Do you know a module that can fix this? Is this something you've encountered at all? One-time logins through Slack or anything like that. You click on them and they fail, or have you all handled this? Well, anyway, this is a problem I encounter regularly until I had this chatbot. Okay, it's not. Yeah, it's true now. This thing found us the module. Yeah, there you go, the shy one one-time module, and discusses how you could use it. So does anyone have anything they want to try out? Any shouts of like little prompts that we can try and use this and see what kind of modules it comes up with?
I want to do smart validations on my Drupal fields.
Smart validations on my Drupal fields.
Like not supported by core. For example.
Not supported by core, okay. There you go, the field validation module.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah.
So in the yellow it says field validation, right?
Yeah, this, the theming of this is not very good. That's a link.
Okay.
Yeah, and that will then take you to the field validation module. And again, this is all existing on your site because that's currently how the project browser works. Anyone get any other ideas of something they want to do? Anything? Yeah.
I want to use a Drupal store as my data storage, my data backend.
Okay.
Is it spelled like that?
Drupal store?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let's see what happens if you spell it incorrectly. Is that helpful? Is that in the right direction at all?
I want to see my module, but
So there's some filtering here. It's only ones that have been downloaded more than 50 times. And this is just something we've thrown out. If you scroll down to the very bottom of the page and on the slides, you'll see it. We've pushed this onto GitLab. When the AI search module is out properly, we'll be able to improve this a lot. But at the moment, this is a very, very simple version of AI search. There's a lot of things that we could do to improve it. For example, we could do things like check the issue queue to see how healthy it is. Do a little bit more advanced stuff about who's downloaded it. At the moment, it's not showing us Drupal 7 modules, but we could do that. Sometimes I've asked it questions, and it's given me very dead modules that used to be powerful, but nobody uses them anymore. So there's a lot of things we could do in the prompt behind this to improve it. But this is a simple example of something, and the important thing is it's all open source. Cool. Now this is going to work entirely with, tightly coupled with Search API. There's a whole bunch of modules that do this kind of stuff on Drupal at the moment. And what we found is very simple examples don't need Search API. But as soon as you start doing anything real, you need to start thinking about which fields you want to index, why. You start needing to do pre-processors, all the things that Search API is really good for. So this felt like a natural fit. And so the goal is when AI search comes out, it's going to be something that's fully pluggable, lots of different backends. And yeah, down here is the jargon. You might have heard the term RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, embeddings, vector search. These are all the things behind AI search that make it work well. And the important thing is it's semantic search. It understands the meaning of the thing that you've typed. It's not just looking at the keywords. What we're going to do is the first version that we're going to release will be simple embeddings and vectors. So you'll have like a views filter. You can type things in, and it will find things like views does, but based around the meaning, not just the words. Then we'll add in a chatbot in the following week. And then there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in Llama Index. I think that's the really cool, innovative space in RAG at the moment. It's very, very complicated, quite expensive. Some of these queries will take like 3 or 4 minutes to do. But what we're going to try and do is take a look at what they're doing and what we can gradually move into Drupal. So for example, I would really like to make it so that we have an LLM that first expands the user's question. So what you saw there is just, it was all in one thing. But what might be useful is when you ask, can you find me these projects? Instead of it just going and searching for it, the first thing it does is get an LLM to split it up into different tasks. Like, I want to make Reddit in Drupal. OK, what's the key components? And then search for each of those key components for a module, find those, and then use an LLM to combine them together and give you some kind of tutorial. So there's a lot of things we can do here that will improve it. Yeah, Robert Costello helped us work on the OpenAI Assistance module. So you do a lot of people struggle when they do AI search, that's setting up all the vector databases, embeddings, the API keys. Pinecone used to be free, and now it sort of is, but sort isn't, and it's a bit confusing. So OpenAI Assistance is something OpenAI provide, Assistance API, that does all of this stuff for you. You just plug it in to behind the scenes, put in your API key, and it will just work. that has like a chatbot and everything. It only works at the moment with content types and files attached to it. It's all it will index. There's very little customization, but it's a really cool intro into it to get you up and running. And as we expand AI search, we're going to support this, and we're probably going to use recipes to help you get started if you don't want to do all the really complicated figuring out the fields and et cetera, et cetera. All right, so now this is what Marcus has been working on. AI Interpolator is what it was before, and we're going to call it AI Automators inside the AI module. And this is a tool for automating sort of everything in Drupal. There's a lot of these things that LangChain, for example, pioneered the concept of chaining prompts together to do more interesting things, where you prompt it, pass it to another one, pass it to another one. Last year I talked a bit about that when I was trying to create views in Drupal. And this is a way that's very Drupal-y. You go to a field, settings, and at the bottom you'll see a little button, enable AI Interpolator, and then you can set everything up there. And you can create a prompt that will do something to that field. You can use tokens, as you can see here, to pull in information from other things. And what we're going to show you today is, a simple thing where we're going to get some content. So this is umami. Here's a recipe. I feel like there's some people here who helped work on umami. But here's a recipe. And we're going to get this PDF that we found. And we want to import only the eggplant and chicken pizza recipe. So we're going to create content. We go to create content, and instead of the normal field that you normally see, normal form that you normally see with everything there that you'd have to fill in manually, you just have these required things, which is a recipe name, and then we've uploaded that PDF. And you'll click save. It's going to take a little bit of time, but what's happening here is the AI is taking that PDF, extracting all the information, looking at the title, and finding the specific recipe you have, and then putting in all the relevant fields. And this content type we've created in Drupal. Here's all the different fields. Some of them are AI enabled and some of them not. So the step one was this recipe PDF. Standard one, file field, nothing special there. AI Automate, if you scroll down, is not enabled. So that's simple. But then we move on to, it's the next tab. I've got all the tabs out open, so. So this thing here is, what was the name of the field again? Recipe book. So this is a field that we've created to store that information about that book. Just everything is unstructured. And we're using this thing called a rule here that is calling a service called Unstructured API, which is a really cool service for reading PDFs, but it's not just standard OCR. It captures a little bit of the structure behind it. So if you have a PowerPoint presentation or a table in your image, it can structure that, which is really helpful for LLMs to know a little bit more of the context rather than just seeing pure text. And so AI Interpolator is a mixture of using LLMs, but also these services. At the moment, they're called rules. There's about 70 or 80 of them. They can do things like transcribing video or audio. They can do things like web scraping. And in this case, it's taking a PDF and structuring it. So then it's pulled everything into a field. Now we move on. And here we want to pull out just the specific recipe. So based on the context, that is a cookbook, extract the part of the recipe for no title. So we pulled in that through tokens and return it exactly as it's written. Do not add or remove anything. Then the context is everything from that thing that we just pulled in. And then we move on to the next stage where we make a summary. And that's now taking the recipe part context that is filtered in and is creating a summary on that. And then just for fun, we showed you some that we could also create an image. So if you move on to the next one. Right, so this is now the page that has been created. So it's like pulled everything from that PDF, added everything in the structured content, and it has actually generated this image using DALL-E. Cool. Before I move on, do you want any questions about this? Feel free to ask questions as I go along. Cool. So, Marcus is going to go into more detail of exactly how to. Oh, yeah.
So I think it's very fast when you move through the explanations. So did I understand this correctly? So there's a PDF that's being uploaded. So
yeah.
the first thing that happens, PDF is sent to an API, to get it structured structured back with text.
Yeah.
Then this text is taken, and from this text, cooking instruction steps are being generated by an LLM. Then the picture is generated by an LLM, and then like maybe summary text, I didn't see it, it was a bit quick, it's generated by an LLM.
Yep.
It's filled into the field of the content type.
Yep.
And that's then saved, and that's what we see.
Yes, yeah. So we'll go, with Marcus, he'll go through a deep dive and actually go through every single step, and he'll show you the whole chain and show you each prompt and how it works in his talk on Friday. Yeah, in every single one of them, there's like one of the fields will be for like number of servings. So in that one, the prompt is very simple. Look at the context of that particular recipe and find in it the number of servings, store it in the field in some way.
That's one more piece, and then the one before, where there was like the AI search for finding modules. So that's
Yes.
What's happening there under the hood? Is like is the information about all the modules fed as like a pre-prompt or something, or is it already in the learning corpus, or like what did we actually see?
That one's a little bit more complicated, so that's using the standard RAG style of approach of things. So what we're doing here with open source is we are taking all of the projects from the project browser. So we use a project browser module, which downloads all of the projects, the modules onto your own server, and it saves it in a database. And then we use, at the moment, Search API AI, which will be eventually AI Search. We use that to index all of that content via an embedding. So the embedding turns it into a number, a vector, saves it in a vector database. We were using Milvus here, or was it Postgres? We're using Milvus for it. And then when we ask the question, we're doing the LangChain standard approach, which is you take the question, embed the question, you do a vector search comparing what's similar to the question to what's in your database. You get a top 10 list. We pass that to the LLM, and the LLM uses that to provide you the answer. So that's the kind of the standard, what is known as like naive RAG now, approach to doing this stuff. And then what we're going to start doing is adding in more advanced RAG features. So we'll do things like provide more metadata to the chunks so that you know what entity it's from. If you're going to do poems, you probably want to know the author and title on every single chunk, because sometimes it gets confused if it has this chunk and it doesn't know where it's come from. We probably want to use LLMs to do the steps. Cool. Yeah, sorry.
How is Google or like the other search engine is going to deal with the AI generated content?
Sorry, what do you mean?
I mean like the SEO stuff. So for instance, you created a page using the AI, how is Google going to rank that? Or like, can we also make metadata from this content?
Yes.
Fill in the meta tag fields or something like that?
Yeah, and I'll move on to that. There'll be a slide about that next. So the question there was about how is it going, Google are going to look at it, metadata, etc. And I'm going to have a slide to talk about that in a second. So that was a simple thing of just taking content and putting it into an already existing structured Drupal site. Very easy to do, quite quick to build, and quite likely to get it right most of the time. What we're doing now is a bit more advanced. It's similar to what I did last year, where we're going to try and create views, but we're going to try and do everything. So we have a PDF, which we'll show you soon, of restaurants. And it's multiple restaurants. Oh, here it is. There's just a couple here, but it just takes a long time to do the whole thing, so we've shortened it, but we have had this demo with quite a lot more restaurants. And if you go back to the and yeah, you can see some structured-ish content. So it's actually unstructured, but as a human, you can look at it and see that website is the title of that piece of data. It's quite obvious from our point of view. You'll see on the Freely Give website a bunch of videos, more marketing videos, like 1 minute, to show different ways we've used AI agents. And we're using this module called Mini Kanban, which you kind of see down here, Mini Kanban agents and AI interpolator agents to handle this. So I'll explain it. It takes a bit of time, so I'll explain it as we go along. So what we're going to do is, could you show we'll show it to you next, but there was a Mini Kanban before this. And we've clicked Add Epic. Yeah, so we've got a Kanban style. We're trying to explore different UIs that might be easier to use for end users. So here's something that people are used to of assigning epics and tasks. So what we've done is click Add Epic. This is a bit more verbose. We've filled in a bit more detail about exactly the steps. If we're going to turn this into a Drupal module, we probably want to experiment behind the scenes of what kind of prompts we can hide. For now, this is what we've done. We've assigned it to an AI agent, set it to do, and we've uploaded the PDF. And then, when we click Save, what's going to happen here is we've created this epic, ready to do. Now it's in progress. It's been assigned to a project manager agent. The project manager agent is going to look at the thing that's been written, look at the PDF itself, and try and think, what do I want to do with this? Who do I want to send it to? What kind of features need to be made in order to satisfy this? And it's gone and created a whole bunch of actual tasks and assigned it to all the different agents. If this is working, we should have 6. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there one down here? Yeah. And then what's happening behind the scenes is each of those agents are now working. It's creating content types as the first thing. So it will look at that and try and guess the kind of structure that we're likely to want in Drupal. These are proper fields. This isn't, just pasting a whole bunch of data. These are real fields that you'll be able to edit and move around. It's then going to actually create an admin view, which will have exposed filters to show that list. It's going to start extracting all the data from it and then filling it into the actual entities, and then we're going to be able to see a view. And this is an agent, so the last thing was automators. They do exactly what you tell them to do. They're kind of dumb, everything with AI is clever, but they do only what you want and what you've said. These agents are supposed to be a little bit more autonomous. They're supposed to have their own opinions about how they're going to do things. They might pass things over. We can have review agents, so one would pass it to another agent that their job is to double check things and say, is it good enough? If not, try again, etc. And what we're thinking is this mini Kanban thing is to try and do everything. The broader you go with AI, the more stuff you try and make it do, the more likely it's going to break. But we could possibly look at things like in Drupal, doing stuff like this from very specific workflows. So let's say we make an AI agent that only is making content types, views, and adding to content. This would be easier because we could set these agents in a particular path, and it's more likely to then get it right. Do you have any questions whilst we let it figure out its thing? Yeah, Christoph.
Trying to ask helpful questions. So what we're seeing here is a representation of what's happening in the background. Right?
Yes.
So they're like it's workers that do stuff, and they have a visual representation, so that if you have something that's running very long, as you're doing right now, so that you don't see only progress bar.
Yeah, and actually, whilst this is working, should we click on one of them? So we go to one of the tasks. What they're actually going to do as well is when you actually click on the task, they're going to give, oh dear.
Yeah, I can get back to you. Let's see if we can solve it.
They're going to give you comments about how things have gone. So they're going to be telling you, is the whole thing broken or?
I set it to do again, so it's
Okay.
a retry. We'll see if we can.
And when we make the admin view, for example, it will give you the URL for the admin view it's created. It will tell you some problems. I've done what you wanted. Oh, thanks. And then also it can ask you questions during this whole process. We can make it so that sometimes it doesn't know what to do. It asks you a question, and a human has to come along and answer it before it goes into the next stage of the process. Should we move on, unless you have any questions, whilst this is working on in the background?
So
Yeah.
You've shown the previous example that you have all of those fields. How do you configure so that one field depends on another field? So here is it clear that it is launching the other agents and they are doing their work, but how do you orchestrate the different fields going in order in the previous scenario?
In the previous scenario, with the umami, so the umami one, when you go to the actual field itself, it has weight at the bottom, and the weight controls the order it goes in. What we're going to hopefully do is, when we get AI automators, improve it so there'll be like a drag and drop thing. So you'll see another tab which has a list of AI-powered fields, and then it will have the weight and the order that they're in, and you'll be able to drag the weight around so that you can control the order. So yeah, with the AI automators, the order is very, very important that you do things in for obvious reasons. With this, it's still important, but it's trying to figure it out itself, so that's another reason why it's more likely to get it wrong than the automators. One of the things I think is very powerful about automators compared to, we are going to support ECA, and that's definitely going to be something that will be very powerful and useful as a way to do AI workflows. But one thing about like ECA, or there's these other tools like Flowwise, where they really get you to think like a developer, where you have to like plan the whole process that you're going to go through, and the steps, and this links to this links to this, and does it have the data? What I like about automators is it feels more Drupal-y. You just create a field and go, what do I want this field to do? I want it to have this. Oh, I need this context. I haven't created that field yet. Okay, I'll go and create it. And it sort of happens organically. So in that, in some of the examples we have some complex workflows with branching paths and everything. But I don't need to think about them as branching. I just need to think, oh, I need a LinkedIn post. Where do I get that from? Okay, I'm going to get it from the summary. What I wanted to do was take the summary, but try and make another summary that is for a very specific audience. Maybe I want a more techie audience. Maybe I want a more marketing audience. I have multiple fields for each of those summaries, and then I get the LinkedIn posts aimed at one or the other. I can build this very organically. But with ECA, we will support that, which then allows you to make very clear workflows with more interesting, like if statements, etc. Okay, everything's done. So do we want to review it? Okay, you can see now that we've got a view. And there you go. It's got some exposed filters, and this is a view. You can go in and edit it. You can do everything you like with it. You can export it. It's pure, real Drupal content. This isn't something sort of faked by AI. Yeah, and then if we go and take a look at that, that is the content type that is completely created and decided on all the different fields. These agents are things that you can both program with code to make it so they can do those things and so they know what they're doing, but also with AI interpolator agents, you can go in and change the prompt. So you can shift them in a certain direction, maybe have your branding guidelines put into them, or maybe have them trained so they can look at a document before they do this thing, or look at some documentation, or etc. Okay. How am I doing for time? Right, so what we've done now in the AI module is step one is, just go to the end here, is we've created an abstraction layer. So everything we built before, we tended to do things with OpenAI. It was the best in class at the time. There was no point really with open source. The demos were so bad that it just didn't show anything. But around about now, things have changed. Claude is getting better and better and better. A lot of people like Claude 3.5. There's differing views on security. Some people will prefer Azure, ChatGPT, or AWS Bedrock instead. In Europe, if you're French speaking, Mistral tends to actually give you much better answers than even OpenAI. And then there's model libraries out there that are open source. So Hugging Face is a ginormous amount of models there, and you can use them for free, which is really cool. It's slow, rate limited, but when you're testing things out, you could try out any of them with the Hugging Face plugin provider, and then you can do self-hosted stuff. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what if you install the AI module now, what you'll get behind the screen. Oh yeah, we also got Grok, which is insanely fast, and Fireworks AI is what we were using prior for the project browser. It's another place for doing open source models, but it's a little bit, it's a bit more expensive than Hugging Face, but faster. So it's something you can use. So when you install the AI module, you'll get the AI core, and then you'll get some explorers, which I'll show you in a bit, and then the providers. And we're going to provide quite a lot of core providers in the AI module itself, the common ones, but in Contrib we'll also support the lesser known ones so that you'll be able to use those. And then this is an example of the configuration page of OpenAI. It's quite simple. We use the keys module for storing the keys, so you select which key you want to use. And this is an abstraction layer, sort of, but it's an opinionated one. We know with Drupal developers, some people will be installing this module and they won't really understand how AI works. They won't understand a lot of the potential risks with it. And getting yourself banned from one of these providers, it could be pretty devastating to some organizations if you really want to make AI part of what you do. So we've made it so that by default, we use OpenAI's content moderation layer, and you can go to YAML file to get rid of it if you need to. It's free. It might be faster, but you probably won't want to. And then with Claude, if you go to the Claude one, it's the next tab there. That one there, at the moment, they don't have a moderation layer anymore. It used to have one, but it would cost money, so it's sort of double your costs. So we allow you to turn it off through the UI, but we've got loads of like warning signs to show you, to like warn you that you could get banned if you allow users to access this and you just send it lots of stuff that it doesn't like. At the moment, because they don't have any moderation, we've, as a short-term fix, we've actually enabled the OpenAI moderation layer. So if you use Claude, you need OpenAI keys as well. It's not going to be perfect. OpenAI's definition of a safe prompt is not going to be the same as Claude's, but this will be better than nothing. So until they've got a moderation layer, it says it's coming soon, until that's out, Claude, you're going to be a little bit careful with just throwing it at end users. Now, what we've done is a couple of chat explorers. If you use the OpenAI module, you've seen that they have these very simple ones, and we've improved on it. The goal is to make this a proper prompt engineering tool that will help you develop things and try out lots of different things, try out chat windows like in Playground to OpenAI. But this is what we got at the moment. And yeah, we can do a prompt here where we can, we've selected an OpenAI thing, ask the AI, write a poem about why Drupal is amazing, and then it will work. It doesn't use streaming at the moment, that will come soon. And as you can see here, because this is a vision model, we can actually give it images as well. So we can send it an image and it will be able to tell us about the image or write something based around the image, etc. And yeah, normalized code examples. But with this prompt explorer, we can swap the LLM provider to something else. And there's all of those there. So should we try Hugging Face? Have we got that one working? Do you want to do Grok?
Take something else, I think, if that's great comments.
Okay. So you select the provider, you select now the model. There's a lot from some of these. With Hugging Face, we've built a UI so that you'll have to go to the Hugging Face website and tell Drupal which models you want, because 700,000 is too many. I mean, there's also different model types there, so we're only supporting LLMs and embeddings at the moment, but we're hoping to expand that. Something's wrong. Okay, well, this is a live demo. Okay, and now if you go to the next browser, here is a image one. So I'm going to create a picture of a cat painting the Drupal logo using DALL-E. And here you can actually, we're not going to do it now, but you can save it as media. So you can, we're going to improve this, the UI for it a bit. At the moment, it will just save it as media before you've seen it. But we're hoping to expand this so it's something you can like explore and then save it into your media library once you've got something. And possibly in Contrib, there's a lot of AI image manipulation tools. So we're hoping to expand this as well to make it so that you could do things like resize it or do various different things on it, all inside this Explorer. And then the other Explorer, which we won't do now, but if you click on it quickly, for all the other things that we support, like audio, this you can type something in or create an MP3 file of you typing it using an OpenAI voice. So we're going to start all the different things that AI supports. We're going to have, oh, there you go. There's a cat doing the Drupal logo. We'll have explorers for that, including like complicated things like embeddings explorers for if you really need to get into the weeds with it. Right, let's move on. Now, this is an example of using LM Studio. Alamo is probably the one that we want to support for doing self-hosted ones, but in the short term, LM Studio is fantastic. It is proprietary, although it's based on open source, and it is a tool you can download onto your machine, a desktop application that allows you to download models on your machine, and then it fakes being an OpenAI endpoint. So if you've written something for OpenAI, you can point it to this and try out all the open source stuff. So if we go to the LM Studio at the bottom, if you go to search at the top first, so this is a place where you can find all the models. You can search for them there or on Hugging Face and bring them across, and then decide which ones you want. If you go to chat, that's where you can chat inside this to explore things. It's really good for testing prompts out. And then again, it's all on your computer, so privacy is a bigger deal. It's much safer here. And then finally, if you go to the server, oh yeah, that's home, how it works. Local server, yeah, that one there. I've already created a server, so I click Start Server. Now if we go to LM Provider, this is the LM Provider's configuration. It's a little bit more complicated to set up, so there's some documentation on it, but we're pointing at my Docker, my local host, and ports 1234. And now we have a version of Drupal running on Docker, on DDEV, on my machine. Okay, that's documentation. And let's go to the Prompt Explorer. I think it's the third tab along. Oh, yeah, okay. Right. So now we can write a short poem, and you can see LM Studios there. I'm going to select this is Meta's one, so it's an open source one made by Facebook. yeah, you can see it running in the background. And once it's finished, again, we'll have streaming at some point. Streaming, I think, looks a lot cooler, but you have to do some setup on your server to support it. So that's one of the reasons why, unless you know what you're doing, your servers might not always support streaming. And we found, yeah, there we go. It's given me a little poem. Cool. Is that everything now? Yeah, so let's go back to the presentation. So any questions about that before I move on? Cool. So there's been another talk about this, so I won't go into too much detail. So if you go through this slide, OpenAI provides, and this goes back to your thing about SEO stuff, OpenAI provides some very simple widgets for CK Editor, where you can click a button and it will add some content or summarize or translate. And along the side, it's got some widgets that sit there that allow you to do things like click a button and it will suggest some taxonomy. And we're going to port everything from OpenAI into the AI module. Kevin's working with us on that. But the difference is that we're going to build it on top of AI search and AI interpolator. Is 5 minutes?
No.
Oh, sorry.
4 questions.
Oh, okay. And so what will happen is with the current thing, it's just a hard-coded prompt. It doesn't actually use your taxonomy, and you can't do anything with it. But what we're going to do when we release this version of it is we'll have something out of the box that just works like this. But if you click Edit, you'll be able to make it so that it knows which taxonomy you want it to use. And then it can actually apply them. Or in the case of SEO, it can do those things and fill out the meta tags. But by combining it with AI search, we can also make it so that in the chain, before it does this, it will go and search through the blog, let's say the blog you're writing, it will look through your organization and any blogs that are similar to the one you're writing, look at those search terms, and then provide that as a context. So it's more likely to get search terms that fit with what your organization wants, rather than just what OpenAI is randomly guessing. And then similarly, we think it was going to be really important for things like branding, or if you're going to do translations, the tone in different locales might be different, and your organization is really carefully fine-tuned how you want to sound in different countries. So when you're getting it to write a summary, with the way it is with OpenAI, it's the same as if you go to chat.openai.com, but we're hoping to make it so that you'll be able to click a button and automatically pull in those contexts, so it becomes a lot more useful. Okay, if we move on. How it all fits together. So Martin from the AI augmenters and Acquia helpfully provided this diagram in the middle of orchestration, various different ways of doing orchestration. There's different triggers for the orchestration. It could be automated triggers, like an email comes in. It could be UI triggers, like the click taxonomy button. It could be UI interfaces, like a chat window that you're talking to. We've got little demos of, like, in that thing about creating content, we've got demos of creating web forms by drawing a doodle. You click a button, it creates a web form, and then there's a chat window where you can talk to it to, like, add things to the web form, etc. On the Free to Give website, you can see some of these demos. Or third-party people might, like through REST, might trigger this. We've got the abstraction layer with all the different types, where it will connect to the LLMs, and then the prompts can retrieve things, use tools or searches or AI search to help it do more rich data. If we move on, so this is the name of all the different submodules that we're going to have in core, and these are the dates where we're aiming to have them in at least an alpha state. So you've got AI core, search, automator, and content editing. And evaluations, I haven't talked about much. People who are new to Drupal tend not to think about it that much. AI tend not to think about it because they're busy building something that's cool. But if you want to sell this to a client, or if you want to make it go live, you will almost certainly need to do evaluations. In fact, it's best to start with thinking about the evaluations. So we're going to build a framework to help you do that, and not just evaluate, did this prompt work, or it will help you have tools like loading in loads of previous data. Maybe you're doing sentiment analysis of, is this comment toxic? So you could put in like 1,000 human moderated things and then see how well your AI stacks up to it. You can use AI to do the evaluation. But we're also going to tie everything to a prompt frame, like a prompt workflow. So you can do A/B testing, and you can do your prompt engineering by, when you improve the prompt, run your eval and see the percentages go up. I think, when you start getting going with this will be really key. But it's not as exciting as like agents solving all our problems. So if we move on next. So plans for that side, I'll go through this really quickly. Out of the box, it'll be very simple content editing. Oh, sorry, a question. 5 minutes, yeah. Out of the box, it'll be very simple content editing experience, but we hope in Contrib, people will be able to build something that is much more advanced. Move on. Yeah, the AI Experience Builder. So we're going to have some BOFs about this module and maybe Starshot. There's going to be some really cool things there, like maybe having a design or something in Figma, clicking a button, and a whole Drupal site's created. If we move on next. Okay, so this is a bit where I started talking a bit about the more philosophical side of things. We don't have very much time. So I think there are some reasons why AI will help Drupal, but if we move on. Yeah, Dries has said that Drupal has led the way in many golden eras of the web, including low-code, no-code capabilities and web publishing. I think AI has the ability to do that for AI orchestration. Everything else out at the moment, if we move on, that is open source, will be like very code-heavy, like LangChain or LM Llama Index, or the clicky-draggy ones. They won't have the wealth of amazing modules like user management, permissions, etc., that Drupal has. So flow-wise works, but it struggles when you're trying to do anything advanced that isn't just a chatbot. And then there's loads of proprietary systems like Palantir AIP or Microsoft Power Automate, but they're proprietary, they're expensive, tend to work only in their ecosystem. So I think there isn't anything like this at the moment that Drupal will very quickly be able to do. Yeah. We'll move on to, we've only got a couple of minutes of questions. I wrote some stuff about, is AI going to take our jobs? I actually think in the short term it's not, and those are some of the reasons why. There's this thing of primitives, of what is it AI is really good at. I actually think it expands what we as developers will do, because it allows us to take unstructured content and put it into a structured process. So we can do way more than we used to be able to. There's some negatives, some really big negatives. Like if I look at the Industrial Revolution, there was some, it's made the world a better place, but for some people in inner city Liverpool, their life expectancy shot right down. We can talk about that in my questions. So if we move on. Yeah, partnership companies. Yeah, Kevin, this is us, who have helped work on the module. Workflows of AI is a really good website that Marcus made for loads of examples of, like about 60 examples of things you can do with AI Automator with step-by-step processes. If you move on. We've got a bunch of developers in the community. SEO, Michael is working on all the search stuff. And yeah, a bunch of you, Mendalgus and Frederick are here. And then we've got the AI augmenter people helping, and we're kind of gradually trying to bring in more people into this group. Do we have the thing about boss? Oh, okay. Any questions? Yeah. Okay. October 24th, we're planning to do a Drupal AI camp. If you're interested in coming along to that or seeing what that could be like, where we'll meet up and discuss these things. We've got BOFs. One is, okay, on the next slide I think it is. There's a Slack on Hash AI. We're spending a lot of time. We're going to be at Barcelona, and then the next one I think is the BOFs. Yes. So we've got an AI initiative one Thursday at 4. Come and ask us questions. We can go into detail or not. And then AI in Starshot, you know, can brainstorm, see what you think. And I think that's everything. We've got a couple of minutes for questions, and I mean, I'll be around afterwards if you want to talk more. We've got some people who are going to go into detail about the AI search stuff they've done. But is there any questions?
Maybe just taking your question, how do you create content types from the AI perspective? So what API Drupal-wise does the LLM speak to?
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I guess you're asking about how it creates the fields. So because the content type is, we call it restaurant, that's what we say. So it's just going to be called restaurant. But the fields, what basically happens there in the background is that it takes a question that this project manager agent has created, gives it all the context. So like this is the PDF. These are the field types that are available in Drupal. So depending, you saw there was an address field.
Yeah, okay.
I installed the address field in this case. So what are the fields that match this? And then for each of these fields, it's also going to go through, like, here's the config for a typical of these fields, which is the configuration that fits it.
YAML from that, or?
No, it's actually program code. So it's actually using the API to generate the fields. So this is a typical developed intent in this case.
Any more questions? Cool. If there's no more questions, I'll be around afterwards if you want to talk in more detail about this stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Just out of interest, actually, what would you want to see in like something like Starshot from what you've seen today? Any of this? Is this all terrifying? Do you like it? Is it some of the things like, is it the agents that you think would be really cool to see? What do you reckon?
I think it has to be really simple. You know what I mean? So like if you could just like have something in there that you can easily create a field.
Please repeat.
I'll repeat the question. So I think like for Starshot, it would have to be really, really simple. So for example, if you for Seeker Editor, you could easily create your own fields with prompts that do what you want. And it's really lightweight. It doesn't tie into taxonomies or like whatever you can think of to just make it more professional. I think that would be worthwhile.
Cool. Any other ideas of what you'd like to see from this in like something like Starshot? Yeah. Wait for the microphone.
If I want to host some local AI machine, I don't know how it goes, is it enough to have some general performance machine or need some server and what requirements?
Yeah, so for the smaller ones, so there's something called Gemma 7B that will work on a machine without a graphics card. And the smaller they are and the dumber they are to some degree, the more they'll work on a simple machine. And then when you want to use the more complex ones like Llama 70B, so the B thing is like how many, I think it's parameters it has or something. Yeah, yeah, and so the more it is, the more complicated a server you need, and then you'll need something that has a graphics card. So the machine you saw here, this has got a 3070 on it, so it's got 24 gig of video RAM and then 32 gig of RAM on the machine. And then you saw the speed at which it did things. It was possible, but if you're going to self-host it, you might have to think a little, and you want to do it fast for a lot of people, you probably need something like a more powerful graphics card. And there's a bunch of different providers out there that do this, but it's definitely a new area. There's a lot of people that will provide very, very simple graphics cards or insanely expensive, but DigitalOcean, for example, will provide you servers that have very powerful graphics cards in them, if you need that.
Nowadays, is it more cost efficient to pay for service or try to set up local machine?
I think it's going to be more cost efficient to pay for the service.
I mean, it depends on usage. And there is also, if you want to set it up yourself, but still not pay so much, there is serverless options.
Yeah. So Fireworks AI is really cheap. So that's a good way of doing it serverless, where you use the open source ones. And serverless is you pay per prompt in the same way, but it's hosted with Fireworks. Cool. Okay, well, thank you. Oh, sorry. No.
Just an idea for Starshot. So very quickly, you asked for Starshot ideas, maybe content generation, like tell the AI I want some structured content, but make it a bit more clever than just lorem ipsum.
That makes sense, yeah. I thought one thing that's cool about Starshot is if you could like take your content that you want to put in, then you can see a Drupal site with your content. It's easier to understand all the tools. Like views, I think is a lot easier to know how it works when you've got a working view that is doing the kind of thing you want it to do and you're just changing it. So compared to demo content, I thought something that allows you just pull in loads of stuff that you need very quickly could be really powerful in Starshot that's aiming at people who don't really know Drupal. Okay. Thanks a lot.